Christy, do we have everyone here that we're expecting?
Is everyone here on our side?
I think so, yes.
Yep.
Great.
All right, we're ready to begin.
Great. Well, good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today to discuss the commencement of the City of Lacey's financial statement and federal programs audit. My name is Paul Griswold, and I am serving as the audit supervisor for this year's audit. And joining me today is Zachariah Shelton, who will be serving as the lead auditor. And so our goal today is to share information related to the current audit, as well as some resources that can be assistance to your government. And so we really value and appreciate your participation in the meeting. So just wanted to give the opportunity for the city to introduce all the attendees. So Christy, I'll turn it over to you if you want to do introductions or pass it around, however you'd like to do it.
Sure, I'm Christy Wolf. I'm the Financial Services Manager here, City of Lacey. And Rick, can I hand it off to you?
Sure. Rick Walk, City Manager for the City of Lacey.
And since I'm in the same box, Vanessa Dolby, Community and Economic Development Director, City of Lacey.
Mayor.
And I'm Andy Ryder, the Mayor of Lacey.
Can't see me, but I'm actually Shandy Cardian. I'm acting as Leilani since she is out of the office.
Great. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then give me. Let's assume I always have to like reorient to where my mute is and all that sort of stuff. So hopefully everyone can see my screen. But before we get started with the PowerPoint, just wanted to note that the presentation we prepared for you today represents just a summary of the topics we'd like to bring to your attention. And so to supplement this presentation, we've included that entrance agenda where you can find more information about the topics shared. While we don't speak directly from that entrance agenda, we're prepared to reference it if you have any questions about that. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. So the Office of the Washington State Auditor is tasked with being the auditor of all public funds. And so as such, we're responsible for auditing all state and local governments. And so our office has approximately 400 professionals located around the state, and we conduct right around 2,500 audits each year. And so on this slide, you'll see the various types of audits we conduct, including financial and federal audits, which is what we'll be doing for the city this year. And while we specialize in a wide variety of audits, so like performance audits, cybersecurity audits, we're just going to focus on the two that we're going to be doing for the city. And so for the first audit that we're doing is the financial statement audit. And so what the purpose of a financial statement audit is to issue an opinion as to whether the financial statements prepared by the city are free from material error as well as fairly stated. And then in addition, the audit will also look at whether the city has adequate internal controls or procedures in place to ensure the financial statements prepared are correctly and are able to detect errors prior to them being submitted for audit. And then the other audit type that we'll be doing is the federal grant compliance audit, also known as the single audit. And so this audit is required anytime basically an entity expends over $750,000 in federal funds. And so the objective of that audit is to determine whether to basically review the funding the city's received. We select some individual grants and then determine whether the city comply with the requirements for receiving that federal funding. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Zach. He's going to go into more detail about those two different audits.
Perfect. Thanks, Paul. Alrighty. So our financial statement audit will cover the period of January 1, 2023 through December 31, 2023. So as Paul previously mentioned, the objective of a financial statement audit is to issue an opinion as to whether the financial statements presented for audit are fairly stated and also are materially correct. It's important to note that our audits are conducted in accordance with government auditing standards. And so those standards require that we also take a look at the city's internal controls or processes that it goes through to prepare the financial statements. Should we become aware of any issues with your processes that could or did allow for misstatements to occur, we're required to alert you of this matter during our audit. And then lastly, we also remain alert to any identified instances of noncompliance that could impact the information presented in the financial statements. And we'll bring this to your attention also if identified. So at the end of our engagement, we'll issue a financial statement audit report to the city in accordance with US GAAP. This report will detail the opinion being issued, the results of our consideration of the city's internal controls and compliance, as well as a full set of the audited financial statements. All right. So moving forward on the next slide, we have the federal grant compliance audit. So we also plan to conduct a federal grant compliance or single audit. That'll be the same period of January 1, 2023 through December 31, 2023. The objective of this audit is to ascertain whether the city materially complied with the requirements of receiving federal funding. So upon completion of this audit, we'll have issued an opinion on the city's compliance with federal grant requirements. An unmodified opinion is what you want to receive, and that provides assurance that the funds were expended in accordance with their intended purpose and that all requirements were largely followed. Please note that these results will be published in a combined report with our financial statement audit. So additionally, it's important to note that our audits are conducted in accordance with uniform guidance. And so those standards also require that we gain an understanding of the city's internal controls or processes that it goes through to ensure federal grant requirements are followed. Should we identify a weakness or concern that could, with that process that could or did result in significant noncompliance, we'd be required to bring that to your attention. And so moving forward, in conducting our federal grant compliance audits, we select enough federal grant programs to satisfy coverage requirements that are set by federal guidelines. So in assessing this requirement, we identified the following specific programs for inclusion in our audit. We have the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds, as well as the congressional grants. These programs represent approximately 85% of the total federal expenditures for 2023. So now I just want to check and make sure, were there any questions over the financial or federal audit slides that we went over? Perfect. All right, so moving forward, an important part of our office is the continuous communication between our audit staff and yours. There's a number of ways that we strive to stay connected through the audit process, some of which we've included on the slide with you today. However, I want to draw your attention to 2 of these methods designed to keep you updated through our audit and ultimately share our results with you. So the weekly status meetings are one of our most important tools to keep you up to date. As their name suggests, it's a recurring meeting with the audit liaison to provide you an overview of the audit, and it's a great opportunity to discuss what has been completed, what's still in process or not yet started, and also discuss any questions or concerns that may arise in the audit process. And then lastly, we're committed to ensuring that you have the opportunity to hear directly from us on the results of your audit. So we'll work with management to schedule an exit conference meeting and invite all governing body members to attend our report out. Please note that if a quorum of governing body members plans to attend, the city is responsible for ensuring the Open Public Meetings Act requirements are satisfied. Next, I wanted to talk about levels of reporting. So throughout the course of our audit, we may find recommendations that are necessary to bring to your attention. So our office has 3 primary levels of audit recommendations that we use to convey the significance of the audit issues identified. First, audit findings, which constitute the most significant level of audit recommendation that can be issued. Audit findings are the only level of reporting included in their entirety in our audit report. So in addition, if a finding is issued, the city will be given the opportunity to provide a response to the finding that will also be published in our report. This is important to help readers not only understand the issue found, but also any information the city wishes to share on how the issue itself or its planned course of correction is going forward. So in addition, please note that certain external standards may require audit issues to be reported as audit findings, and these standards are commonly encountered in the financial and federal audit engagements. Secondly are management letters, which are audit recommendations that are less significant than an audit finding, but they're still important enough to bring to the attention of the governing body and management in a formal letter. So while management letters are not published in their entirety in our audit reports, they are referenced and they still constitute a public document. In addition, it's important to address management letters because if they go unresolved, they could be elevated in reporting issue to an audit finding in future engagements. And then lastly, we have exit items, which are our lowest level of written recommendations. Exit items are very normal in the audit process and are often likened to housekeeping items since they often address best practice items or minor noncompliance matters. So we'll provide a full list of exit items identified to management for their consideration at the end of our engagement. All right, and now I'm going to turn it over to Paul for a few more things.
Just wanted to share a few reminders with you today about your audit. So the first one is about confidential information. So our office remains committed to the protecting and safe handling of your confidential data. So during the audit, we may need to review confidential or sensitive information. So we have a number of ways to assist in the safe handling of that information. And then audit costs. So we shared an estimate of the audit costs in that entrance agenda as well as in the engagement letter. And then the audit dispute process. So should there be any concerns during the audit process, we've established ways for you to voice those concerns. So we always encourage you to start with your local audit manager, Lisa Carroll, but please know that contacts for additional representatives have been included in that entrance agenda all the way up to the state auditor should that be needed. And then lastly, loss reporting. We always like to remind governments about loss reporting requirements. So should you become aware of any known or suspected loss of public funds, state law requires that you file a notification with our office. So one question we often receive is who audits the state auditor? And so as required by government auditing standards, we do receive an external peer review once every 3 years, which is conducted by the National State Auditors Association. And so our most recent results, we received the highest level of assurance possible, which was a pass. And so the results of the peer review can be viewed on our website. So these next couple slides are really just going over some emerging issues we're seeing across the state, as well as some resources that we always like to provide. And so one of the emerging issues that we're seeing across the state and the nation are cybersecurity issues. And so we just wanted to share some information about reporting requirements, as well as some additional resources. And so reporting, basically, local governments may be required to report cybersecurity issues, including security breaches and cyber fraud. Reporting is required to the Attorney General's office if a single security incident affects more than 500 Washington residents. Reporting to our office may also be necessary if the event involves financial records or finances. And the requirement to report to our office isn't dictated by the number of affected parties. It's really whether they involve finances or financial information. And then, as always, you should alert us to any information, any cybersecurity breaches or anything like that, and notifications can be made on our website. We have a whole cybersecurity audit team, and so we have cybersecurity resources on our website. And then a couple slides from here, I'm going to go over some really cool cybersecurity resources that are available at no cost to governments. So before I talk about the cool cybersecurity thing, I just wanted to share about 2 additional support services that are available at no additional cost. And so we always like to highlight these 2 teams. So the first team is the Local Government Support Team, or LGS. And so what LGS does is they provide support services to local governments through the BARS manual, as well as the annual online filing, technical assistance. They're also the ones who answer the client portal questions. So if you have a question, you're like, I don't know how to account for this new SPIDA lease or something like that, you can submit a question over to them, and LGS are typically the ones who respond. So it's a really great, basically, resource to have. And then the other team that is available is the Center for Government Innovation. And so the Center for Government Innovation, what they do is they help local governments solve problems, improve operations via a variety of free tools, resources, and services. And they're also the ones who manage the resource library, and which is another great resource as well. So this slide kind of goes over some of the neat things that the Center for Government Innovation is up to. And so one of them is cyber checkups. And so, like I said, we do have a pretty robust cybersecurity audit team, but unfortunately the wait list for a cybersecurity audit is pretty long because it's a pretty in-demand service. And so the center recognized that there's basically this gap that needs to be filled because cybersecurity affects everyone. Some people don't have the time to wait for true cybersecurity audit. And so what they did is they implemented basically this cyber checkup. So it's not a full cybersecurity audit, but it's basically just a checkup. And so what it does is it's a free independent assessment of basically your vulnerability to common threats, as well as some actionable steps that you can take to improve your overall cyber health. And so this is a free service that the center started last year. A lot of governments have taken advantage of it, including large governments, as well as some small governments that don't even have, IT anything, where they contract everything out. So we're encouraging everyone to take advantage of this. The wait list is about a week. Basically, you send them an email and they can get you basically on the schedule, usually within a week, to do the cyber checkup. And then some other things that they do, they also do lean facilitations, team building workshops, and they're also the ones who manage the financial intelligence tool. So Center is up to great things, and it is available at no cost. And then the last resource we wanted to talk about was a resource that came out last year, which is our special investigations team created this resource about fraud prevention. And so special investigations, they basically created this guide to help elected officials implement policies, as well as internal control best practices for preventing employee fraud in governments. And so the guide is available to download from the resource library, but it's basically organized into 3 parts, which is all about preventing fraud, detecting fraud, and responding to fraud. I'm sure many of you have probably heard about that recent Office of Administrative Hearings misappropriation that just came out that our office did the investigation for. So this is something that we are seeing again and again in local governments. So this is a fantastic resource that's available as well. So that was everything that we planned on sharing. So we can open up for any questions or comments or anything else anyone would like to chat about.
Ryder, do you have any questions?
I don't. Everything looks normal.
Yep.
Looks in years past.
Perfect. Yes, and we are obviously pretty far in the audit as well, and so we already have some tentative dates for an exit that we'll be looking to schedule as well. And so you'll be hearing from us very soon on the results of your audit.
I just saw that those exit dates are like just in a couple of weeks. Is that are we that far along?
Yes, yeah, we are. Yes, especially because we have the Act for deadline at the end of the month. But yes, we have in about 2 weeks we expect to be complete on both. We have the potential of splitting the financial and single exits in case we get too close to that deadline. But we'll keep everyone updated on that. But we've been working closely with Christy and Chelsea to be able to try to make both of those work and exit together for both. So
sounds good. Yeah, I saw that come across my calendar. I'm like, wait a minute, that's in 2 weeks, and we're just having this right now. So I was questioning. Okay, that sounds good.
perfect.
You got the fast pass.
Exactly. Yeah. Great. Alrighty. Well, if no one else has any other questions, thank you so much for joining, and then we will see you all at the exit conference.
Okay, and I, just real quick, since we missed on additional introduction, I want to introduce Chief Bob Almada as well, who joined us.
Perfect. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, see you in a couple of weeks.